Good evening! How are you, my holy sisters and brothers? That was Yehuda Green singing V'zoicher. How's everybody doing? Thanksgiving is almost here. We will have class tomorrow, but it's going to be 3 hours early at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Let's light up the darkness with a new wisdom candle. Who's with us as we gather to do some learning on the day before Thanksgiving? Stephen in New Hampshire, Yehuda in South Carolina, Hannah in New York, David in Indiana, Jose in Miami Lakes. Great to have you with us, Jose. Paula in Chicago, James in Indianapolis, Melissa in Great Neck, Patrice in Utah. Nancy in North Carolina, Pauline in Arkansas, Tracy in Oklahoma, Steve in Tallahassee, Bill in Missouri, Barry in Indianapolis, Paula in the Great Northwest, Heather in Kansas, Rochelle in Modesto, Harry in Staten Island, Paula saying happy Thanksgiving to all, Sharon in Lebanon, New Jersey, John in Maine, Sam in Central Virginia. Over there on the YouTube side, Lynn in North Texas. Welcome, everybody. Today's episode of AT Daily is sponsored by Nicole Murad and Micah Rothstein for the healing of my mom. Thank you so much. You know, I shared before on the show, my mom is in pretty advanced stages of dementia. But we have faith that whatever she's doing inside, we don't have access to it right now in this world, but I know that she's busy. She's in there doing some kind of important spiritual work. Nicole and Micah, may you and your boys and all your loved ones be showered in blessings. We thank you for enabling us to share more Torah with more people. We're going to be doing the whole daf today. It's a relatively short daf. Where are we holding? This is Tractate Taanis, 10th volume of the Talmud. These are the laws of public fasts and many related ideas. We are in chapter 1, completing the 4th Mishna today and opening the 5th here on page Yud Beis, page 12 of Tractate Taanis. We pick it up. Right at the top, Rav Chisda said, the law is that which you said. So where we left off yesterday, the sages were discussing, okay, we're talking about fast days, right? So not Yom Kippur, which is in the Torah that we must fast on Yom Kippur. And the only other full-fledged fast day is Tisha B'Av, the 9th day of the Hebrew month of Av, which commemorates the loss of both temples were destroyed on the same day on the calendar. But when a community faced very difficult circumstances, like a drought, then they would decree certain fasts. Along with that, there were also the possibility of individual fasts, people that could take on, when people could take on a fast, right? Either because they were joining in with a community because of the negative circumstances facing the whole community, like a drought, or as we saw yesterday, sometimes people would take a vow to observe a fast because of something particular in their own life. They made a transgression. They want to engage in a practice that's going to help purify them, to raise them in sanctity. And as we saw yesterday, the sages were quite mixed reviews of a person taking on a fast day, particularly if fasting could cause your body harm. If you're a delicate person and fasting could cause you harm, then for sure you're not allowed to fast. And then mixed opinions on whether, even for a good cause, can you take on a fast. Communal fasts or individual fasts in recognition of communal problems, that for sure is allowed. Other motivation for fasting, complicated. If you're curious about that, read yesterday's page. But the question also came up, well, if you're going to fast, if you're going to declare a fast on yourself, Can it be a partial day fast? Not just a daytime fast that doesn't include the nighttime, like a Yom Kippur fast, but all of the communal fasts were just daytime fasts. But what about just part of the daytime itself, only a few hours? Is that possible? It seems yes, but it's a little more complicated than that. So Rav Chisda said, the law is that which you said, that one may fast for a few hours, provided that one took a fast of a few hours upon himself. In other words, that he declared he was going to fast for a few hours, and that he fasted, and that he did not taste anything until the evening. And Abaye said to Rav Chisda, this ruling is obvious. Since, he fasted for a few hours and then he didn't taste anything until the night fell, well, then this is a full-fledged fast, as one ultimately fasts the entire day. And Rav Chisda answered, no, this ruling is necessary. It is necessary to say this law for a case where he changed his mind, i.e., he began the day without intending to fast, but for various reasons he did not eat. And halfway through the day, he decided to continue fasting for another few hours until nightfall. And Rav Chisda maintains that this kind of fasting for a few hours is considered a fast. When the day started, he wasn't intending to fast. He just forgot to eat, or he was prevented from eating. Then he said, you know what? I made it halfway through the day. I might as well take a fast upon myself. And now I'm declaring that I will not eat until nightfall. So the effect was a full-fledged fast, even though he wasn't intending to do that. So the question is that a full-fledged fast? And as we'll see, why that really matters is, will you say the special blessing within the Amidah that we only recite on fast days? So this day that wasn't intended to be a fast, that became a fast day, do you add the Anenu prayer in the afternoon prayer? And Rav Chisda said, any fast upon which the sun does not set, i.e., when one eats in the middle of the day, well, that is not called a fast at all. But the Gemara raises an objection. And so in terms of a fast of a few hours, let me just read you the halacha, the law. One may observe a fast for a few hours, provided that in practice, he does not eat the entire day. How so? If one is immersed in his daily activities and he does not eat in the morning, and subsequently he decides that he wants to fast for the remainder of the day, he is allowed to do so, and he should insert the Anenu prayer into the Amidah. However, some authorities maintain that even one who observes a fast for only a few hours needs to have taken it upon himself the previous afternoon. As we'll see later in today's page, when you declare a fast upon yourself, there's a time and a way to do that. You don't just do it anytime willy-nilly. So he needs to have done it. However, some authorities maintain that even one who observes a fast for only a few hours needs to have taken it upon himself on the previous afternoon. If one obligates himself to fast for the first part of a day and then he eats, or conversely, if he has eaten during the first part of the day and subsequently takes upon himself a fast for the rest of the day, he is not considered to be observing a fast that requires the recital of the Anenu prayer. However, he is required to observe the terms of his obligation. He obligated himself, and he should fulfill that vow that he made, even though, since it's only a partial day of not eating, he won't insert the Anenu prayer into the Amidah. So, Rav Chisda said, any fast upon which the sun does not set, in other words, when one eats in the middle of the day, he didn't refrain from eating during all the daylight hours. If he ate something during daylight, well, then it is not called a fast at all. The Gemara raises an objection. The members of the priestly watch, the priests and Levites who are serving in the temple that week, right? Remember that there were priestly watches, 24 of them. And so it was generally a family of priests who would be on duty for a week. This is when the temple was standing. And there were 24 different groups of priests who would serve. Basically, they would have 2 duty weeks during the year, plus all of them would be present for holidays. So the members of the priestly watch fast on a communal fast like the members of the non-priestly watch who are attached to specific groups of priests, but they do not complete the fast with the rest of the community. And this indicates that even a fast lasting only a few hours is called a fast. And the Gemara explains, there they abstain from food merely to cause themselves distress as an act of solidarity with the rest of the community. But this was not considered a full-fledged fast. Excuse me. And the Gemara cites another proof. Come in here, Tashema. As Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Tzadok, said, I am a descendant of Sena'ah. I am a descendant of Sena'ah, son of the tribe of Benjamin. And once the 9th of Av, Tisha B'Av, occurred on Shabbos, and we postponed the fast until after Shabbos, since it's prohibited to fast on Shabbos. And to this day, if the 9th of Av falls on Shabbos, then we do the fast on the 10th of Av. And so we fast. And once the 9th of Av occurred on Shabbos, and we postponed the fast until after Shabbos, as Shabbos supersedes the fast of the 9th day of Av, of Tisha B'Av. And we fasted on that day, meaning I guess the next day, but we did not complete the fast due to the fact that the 10th of Av, so that year's Sunday, right? The 10th of Av fell on Sunday, and everyone else was fasting all through Sunday. But the descendants of Sena'ah did not complete their fast. They ate during the day on the 10th of Av. Why? Because that day is a holiday for that family. It's a private holiday for that family. And one does not fast on holidays. And this proves that a fast of only a few hours is nevertheless called a fast. And the Gemara rejects this claim. There too, they did so merely to cause themselves distress. Now, what is this idea of private holidays? We're going to come back to that in about 2 weeks on page 26 of this tractate. The Gemara again attempts to disprove the opinion of Rav Chisda. This time by citing a custom of Rabbi Yochanan. Come in here. As Rabbi Yochanan occasionally said, I shall be in observance of a fast until I come to my house. This indicates that one can take a fast upon himself even for just a few hours, and it is a fast. And the Gemara rejects this proof as well. There, he did this because he was being diplomatic, right? He did this to excuse himself from the household of the Nasi, the head of the Sanhedrin. At times, Rabbi Yochanan received an invitation to dine at the house of the head of the Sanhedrin, but he wanted to decline. To avoid insulting the head of the Sanhedrin, he would say that he had taken a fast upon himself, and afterward he would eat at home. Since this was not a real fast, it is not proof of the legitimacy of a partial day fast. Shmuel said, any fast that one did not take upon himself while it was still day is not called a fast. You can't decide that you're going to fast the next day at night, right? Because at night, it's already that day. You have to do it while it's still daytime and say that tomorrow I will fast. Even though it's a daytime fast, you can't make that declaration the night before the day you're going to fast on. It has to still be daylight when you say, tomorrow I will fast. So Shmuel said, any fast that one did not take upon himself while it was still day is not called a fast. And the Gemara asks, and if one happened to sit in observance of a fast that day, what is that considered? So, okay, he didn't, you should have said it. You should have declared that you were going to make this fast yesterday while it was still daylight. But okay, you decided to do it while it was night, and then you fasted during all of daylight. So what is that? According to Shmuel, it's not a fast, but what is it? And Rabbi Bar Shela said, this person is likened to a bellows that is full of air. His behavior does not constitute a fast, as he is merely a container full of air without food. He didn't eat, but he didn't observe a ritual fast. The Gemara asks, new subject, when does one take a fast upon himself? And Rav said, one takes a fast upon himself in the afternoon of the day preceding the fast. from midday onward. You do it in the afternoon while it's still daytime and say, tomorrow I will fast. And Shmuel said, one must take a fast upon himself for the following day at the end of mincha, at the end of the afternoon prayer. And Rav Yosef said, it stands to reason that the law should be in accordance with the opinion of Shmuel, as it is written in Megillas Taanis, right, that book where all the holidays that the sages had decreed, in other words, great things happened in Jewish history, victories, celebrations, good things. And so the sages said, on this day, we're going to establish this as a holiday. What does it mean that they established it as a holiday? It's not, full-fledged like Hanukkah or Purim that is still a holiday, but there were certain kinds of holidays that are no longer around, but they were listed in Megillas Taanis. And what did it mean? It meant that if there was a drought or something like that, and you were declaring communal fast days, those fast days could not fall on those holidays, those days of commemoration listed in that book, Megillas Taanis. So it's the book of fasting, right? But it really means the book of days you cannot fast on. Okay. So it stands to reason, according to Rav Yosef, that the law should be in accordance with Shmuel, as it is written in Megillas Taanis, after a list of all the festivals established by the sages in commemoration of various events throughout Jewish history. Therefore, whoever has bound himself beforehand with an obligation to fast on one of these commemorative days, he will be bound. Meaning, if you, obligated yourself to fast on a particular day before the sages declared that day, that date in the Jewish calendar, is going to be a commemoration on which it's prohibited to fast, okay, well, you already bound yourself. You obligated yourself before they made that day a holiday, so you are obligated to fast. But the point of this is that if you made that obligation on yourself after those days had already been declared days on which fasting is prohibited, then your declaration that you're going to fast on such a day is meaningless. You are not bound to fast on that day because you are prohibited to fast on a day that the sages said you can't fast on it. And the Gemara explains the apparent proof from the text of Megillas Taanis. What? Is it not the case that this means that he binds himself to the obligation at the time of prayer? And if he did not do so at that point in time, his fast does not go into effect. Right? So when do you declare that you're going to fast? So far we know it has to be during daytime and that it should be in the afternoon. Anytime in the afternoon? Well, Shmuel said at the time of the afternoon prayer and onward, after you've said the afternoon prayer. Is that the time? So the Gemara rejects this explanation. He said the text should be amended by one letter so that it does not read Yesar, he shall bind himself, but Yeaser, he shall render himself prohibited from transgressing these instructions. In other words, the text is explaining that despite a prior vow to fast, it is prohibited for one to do so on those commemorative days which are listed in Megillas Taanis. And the Gemara comments, Rabbi Chia and Rabbi Shimon, the son of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, disagree with regard to this dispute. One of them said that the text of Megillas Taanis reads, he will be bound, and the other one reads that text as he will be prohibited. So the one who said he will be bound, this is as we say. However, according to the one who said he will be prohibited, what does it mean? And the Gemara explains, this is as taught in Megillas Taanis. Whoever has taken upon himself beforehand to fast on one of these festival days, he will be prohibited to eat and drink. His fast is a fast. How so? With regard to an individual who took upon himself to fast on Monday, Thursday, Monday, a series of fast days that we would declare for a drought, and he declared that he would have a Monday, Thursday series of fasts the entire year. Whoa, that's crazy. And the commemorative holidays written in Megillas Taanis occurred on these days. So if his vow preceded the decree of the sages that such and such a day would be a day prohibited for fasting, if he established his fasts on himself before the sages made it a commemorative day, so his fast is a fast, he's obligated in it. But if the sages had already decreed that those days are prohibited for fasting before this guy obligated himself. So then the days that they said no fasting, for him also, no fasting. And the sages taught in a baraisa, until when may one eat and drink on communal fasts? When one fasts during the day, but not the preceding evening, right? So you can eat during the night, you can't eat during the day on one of these communal fasts. Does that mean that you can eat all night? Or is there a certain time after which you're not allowed to eat? Says the Gemara, until dawn. You can eat until dawn. This is the statement of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi. Rabbi Elazar, the son of Rabbi Shimon, says, until the call of the rooster, which is before dawn, right? So the first rays of light, not just the sun coming up over the horizon. Abaye said, they taught this ruling that one may eat all night only if he has not finished his evening meal, as he may continue eating the same meal all night. If you're sitting at the dinner table, especially if you're talking Torah, okay, you can eat all night. But if you finished your dinner and went to bed, according to Abaye, that's it. You finished eating, you had your dinner, no more eating all night. You can't get up early while it's still dark and eat breakfast, according to Abaye. However, if he has finished his meal, he may not eat anymore. That's Abaye. Rava raised an objection to Abaye from a baraisa. If one finished his meal and stood up, nevertheless, he may eat more. This shows that one may, in fact, eat all through the night, even if he has finished his meal. And Abaye answered, there, the baraisa is referring to a situation where he has not yet removed or cleared the table. Therefore, it is as though he has not finished his meal. But if he finishes eating, clears the table, then he's done. He can't go back and eat some more, according to Abaye. Rava said, and that's what Abaye says. Now, some say a slightly different version of this discussion. Rava said they taught this ruling only if he did not sleep after eating. But if he slept, he may not eat anything else that night. Abaye raised an objection to Rava from a baraisa. If one slept and arose from his sleep during the night, he may eat. And Rav explained, well, there the baraisa is referring to one who was merely dozing and was not fully asleep. So now they're saying, well, if you finished your meal and went to sleep, then you're done. You can't eat any more that night. But what does asleep mean? It means deep sleep. If you just kind of nodded off while you were at the table, you didn't really go to bed, then you can keep eating. What is the law, the halacha? On any fast day that is observed only during the daytime, whether it is an individual or a communal fast, one may eat and drink all night until dawn, in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, right? So it's okay to go to sleep when it's going to be one of those fast days that's only during the day, like some Gedalia or Taanis Esther. But, right, you have to get up and eat while it's still dark, completely dark. Once there's a ray of light in the sky, then the fast is started. You can't eat anymore. However, if one falls soundly asleep, he may not eat when he wakes up unless he stipulated beforehand that he will eat in the event that he awakens, right? So you have to plan to eat. You can go to sleep, but you have to say, okay, if I awaken, my alarm wakes me up, then I will eat. But you have to plan to eat. You can't fall asleep without making that plan. So if he merely dozes off, he is permitted to eat until morning, but not if he's not deeply asleep. And some authorities maintain that one may drink until morning, even if he falls into a sound sleep, without stipulating that he will drink when he wakes up, as he certainly had in mind that he should be permitted to drink until the fast begins. That's the Rima citing Mordechai and Tur. Some authorities maintain that it is nevertheless preferable to explicitly make a stipulation with regard to drinking as well. Others argue that nowadays, when all are accustomed to drinking upon awakening, this stipulation is not necessary. But with regard to eating, as opposed to drinking, the stipulation is necessary. So I didn't know that. I've been doing it wrong. But when you have one of these minor fasts, where it's only going to be a daytime fast, and especially in the summer when daylight is really long, and it makes a lot of sense to get your butt out of bed at 4:30 in the morning and eat a breakfast while it's still dark, because otherwise it's going to be a very difficult fast. You actually have to stipulate I will eat when I wake up in accordance with this law. Okay. And we did this. We did that. Okay. And the Gemara asks, so what are the circumstances of dozing, right? So if it's definitely permitted if you didn't really go to sleep, if you just nodded off, like you just kind of dozed but not slept. So what is dozing? One is asleep but not fully asleep. Awake but not fully awake. What is that state, that kind of twilight state between sleep and wakefulness? This means that if they call him, he will answer, but he cannot give a coherent reason. And when we remind him of something that just happened, he remembers it. If, you're not like a really, really young person, if you're more a grown-up like our age, this sounds like, hey, let's watch a movie after dinner. And you sit in the couch, cue up the movie, the lion roars. Hey, what happened in the movie? It was, they were like the bad guy was doing this and the good guy was doing that, right? That's that in-between sort of semi-sleeping stage. Rav Kahana said, an individual who took a fast upon himself is prohibited to engage in the wearing of shoes on the day of his fast. And the reason is we are concerned that perhaps he took a communal fast upon himself. And wearing shoes is prohibited on communal fast days as opposed to individual fasts. And the Gemara asks, how should one act to avoid this problem? And Rav Shelah said, let him recite this formula. Tomorrow I shall be before you in observance of an individual fast. So now you know why I'm wearing shoes. And the Gemara relates, the sages said to Rav Sheshas, who was blind, we see sages who wear their shoes and go to the study house on a communal fast day. And this shows that there is no need to be concerned about this prohibition. And Rav Sheshas became angry, and he said to them, well, perhaps they even ate. If you saw them treating the fast so lightly, maybe they forgot to fast altogether. And the Gemara further relates, Abaye and Rava would enter the synagogue while wearing sandals on the leather of their shoes, i.e., they would wear their shoes upside down. Marimar and Marzutra would switch the right and left shoes. By contrast, the sages of the school of Rav Ashi would go out wearing shoes in their usual manner. And they hold in accordance with that which Shmuel said, the only completely stringent communal fast in Babylonia and the Jewish community in Bavel is on Tisha B'Av alone. Therefore, in Babylonia, there is no need to be concerned that one might have taken a communal fast upon himself and shouldn't be wearing shoes, because there's no such thing. And the Gemara discusses another topic related to fasts. And Rav Yehuda said that Rav said, a person may borrow his fast and repay. Borrow and repay for a fast. In other words, if one is unable to fast on a specific day that he intended to fast, he may annul his fast for that day and fast on another day instead. He still owes to God that he declared he was going to fast, and then for some reason he can't fast. Okay, then he has to fast another day. And Rav Yehuda related, when I read this halakha, this law, before Shmuel, he said to me, and did he take a vow upon himself, which would mean that it is not possible for him not to repay it? He took upon himself to cause himself discomfort on that day. If he is able, he must cause himself discomfort. If he is unable, he does not need to cause himself discomfort, in which case he need not repay the fast. So it would seem that, no, you don't borrow and repay. You declared you were going to fast. You attempt to fast. If for some reason you're unable to fast, okay, it was out of your control. You don't have to fast on some other day. You're done. So some say, and so what is the law? What is the halakha of borrowing on a fast? If one vowed to observe a fast on a particular day, but he forgot his vow and he ate that day, so he must refrain from eating for the remainder of the day. The fact that he messed up and broke his fast doesn't mean that now it's over and he can just go back to regular eating. He forgot, he made a mistake, but he should still endeavor to fast for the remainder of the day. However, if he vowed to fast without specifying a particular date, and after the beginning of the fast he forgot and he ate, so he is required to fast on a different day. If one vowed to observe several fasts without specifying the dates, and after starting to fast on a particular day, he wants to cancel the fast on account of some other religious obligation, or in honor of an important person, right? A sage came to town and they're having a party for him and he wants to eat at that fest to honor the important person, or because he was in a state of distress, he was so hungry he's freaking out, so he is permitted to break his fast and repay it on another day. Some say a different version of this discussion. Rav Yehuda said that Rav said, one may borrow his fast and repay. When I said this law before Shmuel, he said to me, this is obvious. Let it be considered only a vow. Even so, is he not required to repay a vow on the next day or on another day? Since a commitment to fast is a type of vow, he is obligated to repay it at some point in time. And the Gemara relates, Rav Yehoshua, the son of Rav Edi, happened to visit the house of Rav Asi, and they prepared a third-born calf, a delicacy, whose meat is high quality for him, right, for Rav Yehoshua. And they said to him, let the master taste something. They prepared this very expensive, very fine cut of meat from a third-born calf. And he said to them, I am sitting in the observance of a fast, and I may not eat. They said to him, and let the master borrow and repay the fast. Doesn't the master hold in accordance with this law that Rav Yehuda said that Rav said? A person may borrow his fast and repay. Rav Yehoshua, the son of Rav Edi, said to them, it is a fast for a dream. He was fasting to rectify the negative effects of a bad dream that he had experienced the night before. And the Gemara explains the relevance of this last comment. And Rabba bar Mechaseya said that Rav Huna bar Guria said that Rav said a fast is effective to neutralize a bad dream, just like fire is effective for burning chaff. And Rav Hizda said the fast is effective specifically on that day, that one dream. And Rav Yosef said, and one suffering from a bad dream is permitted to fast even on Shabbos. And the Gemara asks, what is the remedy for one who has denigrated Shabbos by fasting? Let him sit in observance of another fast on another day to atone for the fact that he fasted on Shabbos. Right? So you should never fast on Shabbos. But here we see there's one exception, that if you're going to undertake a fast because you had a terrifying dream that you're afraid is a bad siman, a bad omen, a bad sign for you, that something bad is going to happen, and so you want to make a fast, take a fast upon yourself to show God that, you're pious, you care, you've been scared, that, this dream has shown you that you have some, misbehavior in your recent past that you need to atone for. And so you want to fast to rectify what this bad dream is about. So that kind of a fast can only work if you do it right after you wake up, on the day that you wake up from that bad dream. So for that case, even if it's Shabbos, you can fast, which normally you can't fast on Shabbos. But if you do undertake such a fast on Shabbos, all right, you're rectifying your dream, but you also denigrated Shabbos when we're not allowed to fast. And you did. So now you owe another fast on some other day to make up for the fact that you denigrated Shabbos. Mishnah number 5 here in chapter 1. If these 3 regular fasts have passed. So we're going back to the discussion of Mishnah number 4. So when there's a drought, particularly a drought, the rains haven't come. First, the prominent individuals, the Torah scholars, take on individual fasts to try to, impress upon God the worthiness of the community and that the rain should come. The rains don't come. Then the Sanhedrin declares a communal fast, which is going to be a series of 3 fasts, Monday, Thursday, Monday. The community undertakes those fasts. If the rains come, wonderful, we're done. If the rains don't come, this is where we are. If these 3 regular fasts have passed and they have not been answered with rain, the court decrees another 3 fasts upon the community. And these are severe fasts, right? So the first 3, it was just no eating during daylight, Monday, Thursday, Monday. The rain didn't come. Now we're going to do another series of fasts, Monday, Thursday, Monday. But now they're going to be more severe. In addition to no eating and drinking, while it is still day, before the beginning of the night of the fast, and on the day of the fast itself, they are also prohibited to engage in performance of work, in bathing, in anointing themselves with oil, in wearing shoes, and in marital relations. And they lock the bathhouses so that no one should come to bathe on that day. In other words, they're afflicting themselves to show God that they're serious about making an atonement for the transgression that caused the drought to come. If these 3 fasts have passed and they still have not been answered, the court decrees on them another 7 fasts, which are a total of 13 fast days upon the community, not including the first 3 fasts that were observed by individuals, by the Torah scholars, not by the community. So these additional 7 fast days are even more severe than the first ones, as on these days, in addition to all the earlier stringencies, they sound the alarm, as will be explained in the Gemara, and they lock the stores. Although the shops must remain closed most of the time on these days, on Monday they open them a little at nightfall to allow the people to purchase food for breaking their fast, and on Thursday they are permitted to open the stores all day in deference to Shabbos, so that people may purchase food for that sacred day. If all of these 13 fasts have passed and they have not been answered, the court does not decree additional fasts, but the entire community observes the customs of mourning. It's like everyone is in Shiva. And they decrease their engagement in business transactions, in building and in planting. They decrease their activity in betrothals and marriages, and in greetings between each person and his fellow, like people who have been rebuked by God. It's like the whole community is walking around with their heads hung low, not engaging in anything that causes joy and festivity, because we've all sinned and God has not forgiven us, and we have to behave humbly so that perhaps God will, look down on us and realize that, we're sorry. We're truly sorry for what we did. And please forgive us and send the rain. The individuals, i.e. the Torah scholars who fasted before the series of 13 fasts, they do keep fasting. They resume fasting every Monday and Thursday until the month of Nisan ends. Right? So when do you start fasting? Kislev, right now. When do these fasts end? Nisan, the springtime month with Passover in it. It's like 5 whole months of fasting. It's a lot of fasting. But if no rain comes during all that time, the nation is in danger, like serious danger. People could starve to death. And that's why they're taking these fasts so seriously, this series of daytime fasts, to try to, beg mercy from God. After this date, after the month of Nisan ends, the month that has Passover in it, after this date, they no longer pray for rain. Since if Nisan has ended and rains fall after that, they are actually a sign of a curse. As it is stated, is not the wheat harvest today? I will call to the Lord that he may send thunder and rain, and you will know and see that your wickedness is great. 1 Samuel 12:17. The wheat harvest is around the time of Shavuos in June, the summer month, right? Or almost summer, which is well after Nisan, right? So we have this idea among the sages that if the rain hasn't come, by the time of Nisan, it's not coming. And if it does come later than that, it's going to be harmful to the crops, not beneficial. And so that kind of rain is considered a curse. That's the Mishnah. Now we'll just open the Gemara, and then I'm coming to questions and comments. I am almost done. So just beginning the Gemara on this Mishnah number 5. And the Gemara discusses the activities that are prohibited on a communal fast day. Granted, all of the other actions are prohibited as they provide pleasure. Bathing, smearing with oil, marital relations. However, working in our occupations Isn't that a cause of suffering? Why was it decreed that one must refrain from working during a fast day? And Rav Chisda said that Rav Yirmiyah bar Abba said, it is as the verse states in Joel 1:14, sanctify a fast, call a solemn assembly, gather the elders. And this indicates that a fast day is like a day of assembly. Just as on a day of assembly, in other words, a festival, it is prohibited to engage in work, our normal work, so too, on a fast, it is prohibited to engage in working. And the Gemara asks, well, if so, one could say, just as on a day of assembly, it is prohibited to work from the previous evening, so too on a fast day, it should be prohibited to work from the previous evening. And Rabbi Zera said, this was explained to me by Rabbi Yirmiyah bar Abba himself. The verse states, sanctify a fast, call a solemn assembly, gather the elders, indicating that a fast is similar to a gathering of elders. Now, just as the gathering of elders is performed by day, not at night, so too the time for a fast is also by day. And the Gemara asks, but if so, one can say that the fast should begin from noon. That's when the gathering of elders is. And Rav Shesha, the son of Rav Edi, said, this supports the opinion of Rav Huna, who said, the public gathering on fast days occurs in the hours of the morning. And so fast days are from sun up to sundown, and no working is permitted on those days, as was just derived. Okay, let's go to comments and questions. Not many questions or comments. Okay. Rick Davis, making it contemporary. I wonder if dozing would mean non-REM, like REM, rapid eye movement, nor stage 3 and 4 levels of sleep. I mean, I can't say for sure, but I think you got it, Rick. I think you're saying it exactly right? It's like sleep that's not sleep. If you just kind of doze a little, okay? So, you didn't end your evening. And even if you hadn't stipulated that you were going to eat after sleeping, if it was that kind of light sleep, you could sleep. You could eat some more after you shook yourself awake. But if you really went to bed and went to sleep, then unless you stipulated that you were going to eat in the morning before daylight, you wouldn't be allowed to eat in the morning before daylight. From Nina. Can you borrow and repay other fasts? I might not feel like fasting on the 17th of Tammuz. Maybe I can put it off until a time of year when it gets dark early. LOL. It's a thought, but it seems like this borrowing and repaying that they're talking about is on fast days that one personally takes on, right? Not communal fast decreed on the whole community, like, some Tammuz, that 17th day of Tammuz, right? It's tough fast. It's only daytime, but it's right in the middle of the summer. And so, it ends up being like, a tough fast, right? Like the daylight is 14, 15 hours at that time of year. It's a long fast, a tough fast. And Rick, are special blessings required before one undertakes a fast? It appears not. You just have to say it. And there was a discussion there about whether you say it during Mincha, during the Mincha Amida, the afternoon Amida, or right afterward. But it's just you say, out loud or think very clearly to yourself, tomorrow I'm going to fast. And then you're involved in a fast day, so you don't say a blessing before, but then during that fast day, you add the Anenu into that next day's morning Amidah while you are fasting. And Renee, I never knew to undertake a fast after a bad dream. I just knew the amelioration prayer in the Siddur. Right. So in a Jewish prayer book, there is a prayer that we say when you've had a very frightening dream. That it's not just a nightmare, right? It's a dream that strikes you like it's a bad sign, like something bad is going to happen in the real world because you had that dream. And so there's a special blessing that we say for the amelioration of bad dreams. We learned about that in Tractate Brachas. This idea that you would take on a fast, I wouldn't do it. Maybe you could do that. According to some opinions, you can. But we also saw that according to other opinions yesterday, on yesterday's daf, you shouldn't take on fasts that are optional, right? And amelioration of a bad dream seems to be an optional one. For some people, okay, well, if you're going to do it, then you could even do it on Shabbos. But then you owe another fast because you denigrated Shabbos in that way. And just generally speaking, the sages, they're not big on taking unnecessary vows, right? And any kind of a fast is a kind of a vow. And since it was unnecessary to take on that vow, better not to do it, right? So if you want to learn more about that, I would discuss it with your rabbi. But so even though that method exists, taking on a fast for a dream, it doesn't seem to be recommended at all. Here's the law: a fast for a dream. A fast is as beneficial for rectifying the effects of a disturbing dream as fire is powerful against chaff. Therefore, one who has had a bad dream should fast and repent. That's according to the opinion of Magen Avraham on the day following the dream. Nevertheless, fasts for dreams are optional. That's the Rashba. In recent times, many authorities have ruled leniently on questions involving fasting for dreams. Leniently meaning, okay, you're allowed to do it, or leniently meaning like you're really not obligated and you shouldn't do it. Unclear. So it's not clear from that explanation there. So, if it's something you're curious about, further research required. Okay, my friends, that's what I've got for us today. Please remember, we're in our annual campaign. Support our nonprofit so we could share more Torah with more people, and particularly this year because we're raising an added amount so that we can build the AT app and not be limited by the algorithms of social media, which really limit our ability to reach even our own audience. People who've already expressed interest and want to see our material are not seeing it because Facebook is so crowded and the algorithms are so, unpredictable, and they're not particularly kind to pages that deal with matters of faith, as opposed to, much more sordid material, which easily gets out there. And so we want to build an AT app so we can connect directly with you. It costs a lot of money to build an app. So please be generous in donating this year to our annual campaign. Learn more about it. Donate.accidentaltalmudist.org, and the link is right there in the header and in the comments. Have a great evening. With God's help, we'll be together again tomorrow, earlier than normal, 3 p.m. Pacific. That's 3 hours earlier than the normal Thursday time, since people are having Thanksgiving. That's what I've got today. Have a great night.